and then we can talk. And as I said, Habib is a geographer, and he is going to be talking about the rural origins of the revolution in Tunisia. And I have to mention, for those of you who weren't here, that Habib is Tunisian born and works in Paris, and has worked in Paris and in Cairo. Yes.
Thank you very much, Rami. I'm very glad being here with you and having this opportunity to exchange and discuss with you about an issue which is very, very important for me as a researcher, but mainly as Tunisian. I think this will be a new opportunity for me to understand a little bit what is happening in my own home, in my own country. I have just to apologize for two main problems. The first one is my poor English, but this is not very important. I will try to challenge. The second one is how to read and how to analyze in progress, ongoing processes. It's a very short time, and we don't have the needed time to get the real picture of what is happening and actually nobody was waiting or nobody was imagining that this process could happen one day. We, in the 70s, we were dreaming on revolution, and we had a very good time at dreaming. But yeah, it was probably very too difficult to challenge, and we forgot in some way, you know, and we followed individual strategies to deal with our situation, you know, under the dictatorship regime of Bourguiba first, and then of Ben Ali, you know. And when things happened, when Ben Ali left in January 11, everyone was just surprised. What's happening in this place? What is happening in this country? You know, this is Ben Ali is not any politician, you know, who can resign in 2 hours. He's very. We had this idea. We had this image that it's very strong state. There's a very, very strong regime, and nothing can change it by force. And we could imagine something like what we know now. We knew in Libya and in Syria, whatever we call it, civil war, internal war, external aggression, whatever, you know. But we could imagine this kind of violence in the country, you know, between a part of the regime, all of the regime, and the rest of the country. But it's not what happened. Something else happened. And it was very surprising because we knew, of course, we were. Personally, I was in Tunisia at that time, and we heard about the suicide of Mohammed Bouazizi and other events, you know. But we have this idea that the regime will find the way to stop everything and to continue in running the country with the same policies. And in a few hours after this big demonstration in Tunis in January 14th, in the afternoon we heard by Jazeera, through Jazeera, that Ben Ali escaped. Just he went somewhere. But what his plans? What is his coming back? And the second day we were waiting of his coming back, and is he planning some new strategy, you know, to go into clash and to violent clash with is he sending his army? No, the army was on the street, and he was apparently happy by what the things were going, you know, apparently. No, this is, so, but what I wanted to say in this presentation is to read with you the history, not to do writing, because writing history in that time it's very, very difficult, too short time, you know, to do it, but just to see what. Few days after Ben Ali left and the regime apparently followed, a few days after we had this French name of this revolution, Thawrat al-Yasamin, the Jasmine revolution, and it's hurted a lot of people. Why? What does it mean exactly? Why they speak about jasmine? Because jasmine is a very nice, you know, thing, and mainly in perfume is probably better. But the 90% of Tunisians, they don't know jasmine. They never seen jasmine. I'm coming from the southeast in Tunisia, in the mountain area, very poor area and very poor family. And I think the first time I saw something called Yasmin, I probably was something like 17 years. This was the first time. And in many different other places, there is no Jasmine at all. So people probably hear about Jasmine, but most of them, they never seen it. So, this choice of words never happened by Azar, you know, it's not an accident, it's choice. So what does it mean, calling this revolution the revolution of Jasmine? This is my question. And I had a first answer publishing a paper with in ROAP, thanks to Ray Bush, and who facilitated this publication, and I called it Halfa, the Halfa grass revolution, in opposition with Jasmine. Why? Because, and this is my own reading of the revolution. For me, and this is what I want to suggest as a reading, the revolution didn't start in December 17th and didn't start in January 14th. It started in 2008, in January 2008, with a large, very, very big strike in the mining zone in southwest of Tunisia, in the mining zone of Gafsa, Ardayef, Tala. Probably you have heard about this names. This is in this place, and of course, till January 11, many things have been written, published, told about this event, but this was like a moment, you know, of 5 or 6 months of strike from January to June, with a very, very hard repression from the security force and from the militaries, and we considered it as an accident, you know, a political accident, an exception, the entre parenthèses, you know, there's something happened, and okay, Ben Ali dealt with it, and that's enough. And so in this place in Gafsa, it's very poor area, and there we don't find jasmine. This is completely impossible to find any jasmine, even in private gardens, you know. The only thing you can have there, and 80% and or 90% of things in natural biodiversity in those plants are halva, you know. And so that's why I called it halva. And my idea is to redesign the map, or the remapping the political processes were started at that time in 2008. Now I can say it, and many people say it, but if you have asked me in January or December 2010, I wouldn't say the same thing, because at that time something we didn't see and nobody has seen is the accumulation. You know, we didn't have seen it as a process, as an accumulation of resistance and struggles, not only for the jobs, but also against the dictatorship regime. And this is the most important. Many people don't want to go into this way of reading this short moment in 2 years. And it's very difficult to understand what happened in Sidi Bouzid if you don't start from January 2011. And between January 2011 and December 2010 is 2 years. You could tell me, okay, it was a moment, and we can see it because there is no continuity between January 2008 and December 2010. And this is the problem of media, and this is the problem of observers, because January 2008 was very, very huge moment, very, very huge movement. 6 months, and the answer of the regime was so strong that the media came from all over the world, you know, from France, from States, from Al Jazeera, of course, and other places, you know. But a lot of other things, we had a lot of other moments in many places in the country between 2008 and 2010, and nobody has reported them. You know, no, we don't know that. We have a lot of things in the west and northwest and the center and the south. The second one I wanted to mention is a very important movement here during this summer 2010. 3 months of strike, and this is we are in the frontiers, you know, the boundaries with Libya, and it was reported like how do you say, a kind of reaction of local mafia against the law or against the state or the this is telling this is a way of exclude the specificity of this area. Here in the southeast, starting from Gabes to this area, is more or less 2,000 million people, or 1,000 and a half, you know, something like that. I don't have the precise statistics, and all of them survive thanks to a mix of informal and legal trade in this area with Libya. You know, a lot of things comes from Libya, even some Tunisian products. You know, the Tunisians, they have couscous and they eat couscous, And couscous is producing in a factory here in Sfax, in the north, somewhere here, okay? And it's sold, how do you say, subventionné?
Subsidized.
Subsidized. It's sold in Libya, very cheap, because of Gaddafi subsidized. It used to subsidize this product, and this is the main thing we eat in Tunisia. You know, like rice in other places. And the Tunisians, they go from this region to Libya to buy couscous here, and they reintroduce it, and it's like having a sort of up to 50% or something like that. You know, they cut the price, so what happened in 2010? That is the regime wanted to control. The regime in Tunisia, Ben Ali, was a dictatorship, of course, but what is more important, it was a mafia ruling the country, big mafia of Trabelsi mafia, and they took the old economy under their control. So they saw that there is a lot of money in this area, and there were a lot of money, you know, probably billions of dollars a year, you know, in this area. We used to say Bingardan. Bingardan is the last city of Bingardan, the last city in the frontiers, you know, the door where you can. We used to say the World Trade Center, you know, in this area, because you can change dollars, yens, euros, of course, is very easy, Egyptian pounds, Lebanese lira, and everything you could change at that time. So the Trabelsi wanted to control this area and the traffic, and they planned to create a boat line between Tripoli, Trablus, and Sfax. You know, to exclude all this region from this traffic, you know. And so the population here react with a lot of violence, because this is their own possibility to survive, you know, and because there's nothing to do here, mainly. And you will see this film, The Afternoon, is filmed in a village just in this area. So this is in September 2010, and I will not have enough time to talk about other moments or events, but I will concentrate. And if you see the map of the events and of this accumulation of struggles, you will see also that's the same map of poverty in Tunisia, and you have here the different statistics, which gives you this superposition or overlay of struggles and social, you know, very good. And I think I'm tired. I will finish before 10 minutes. You know, this is so. And now I will go to this is another indicator of this inequity or inequality between regions, you know. And in my title, I use the word rural. And I have just to precise that I take this term in a very large conception, you know, what's rural? Because we have actually, in terms of defining concepts, what's rural in 2012? What's rural about urban? I had someone who have told this morning and the first renting to Rami that 80% of the population all over the world are urban. What it means? agglomerated, yes. Living in the same place, yes, but what's rural, urban, what's rural? So I took this facility to use the term of rural in a very large conception, and let me say, just because I don't consider the cities or the places or the number of inhabitants, but I consider within this term the regions, you know, the areas, rural areas, and of course the mining zones is also another difficulty. Workers in mining zones, are they rural or not? I don't know. As a geographer, I don't know, but politically I can say something on it. If we consider the income, if they consider the way of living, way of life, and if we consider the daily life, you know, where they live, with who they exchange, how they manage their you know, their economic and social things. And you see this distinction between the two Tunisia. You have the south, center, and west of Tunisia. This is the first Tunisia, the poor Tunisia, the poor in terms of income, but it's in natural resources, very, very rich area, you know. And the other Tunisia, which concentrates most of the investments and the infrastructures, services, resources, and this is economic resources, I mean, the east and the north around the city of Tunis, the capital, you know. And so, going back to this start, you know, things started in 2008 here, and it ended in January 2011 in Tunis. The first demonstration in the city of Tunis have been in January 8th, 2011. And it's also important to say that the first demonstration in this city in 2011 was in a very popular, very poor area in Tunis called Sidi Hussein, you know. And from the January 8th to January 14th, we went from Sidi Hussein to L'Avenue Habib Bourguiba, you know, the main street and main avenue in Tunis. And that day, it was really a kind of trans-class demonstration, you know, something. There were people, very, very rich people, very, very poor people, women, men, students, and people coming from other areas, and people from urban places, and most of them were from Tunis, of course. But I don't want to be so negative, but Tunis woke up 2 years after the beginning of the process. So something was not clearly identified, you know. Even when I say Tunis, I'm one of the people from Tunis, you know. I'm from this area. But I left many years ago, and I had this chance to go to have this itinerary, and working now with the university, I'm getting good salaries, and you know, so I have my place in Tunis, the city, and my life is urban life, you know, and I'm very happy about it. No problem with it, you know. I just given this itinerary of revolution, if you can say, and I will end. The last point is the case Sidi Bouzid. You know, this is the place where things started, and this is the mining zone. This is bigger than the second one. This is the oil trade, informal, illegal and informal trade, and so Sidi Bouzid. Why things happened in Sidi Bouzid? You know, if we take the short time, the accelerated process, you know, between December 17th and January 14th. Things are very, very, rapid, just very, very, and the evolution was just. So this, sorry for this kind of picture, but that's just to remind that Mohammed Bouazizi is not a myth, is a real history, But why Sidi Bouzid? I had this chance, I think, to spend 1 year in 78 in Sidi Bouzid, 77, 78. I was a student there, finishing something in agriculture college, and for me it was an exile, It was completely desertic. There is nothing than olive trees with very, very few rains, less than 200 millimeters a year. And so what we call steppe, steppe lands, there is nothing. A lot of things, of course. I don't want to say that it was really an exile. But for me, coming from other places, and I was just, I took it as a punishment, I spent 1 year and I left. Nothing was irrigated in Tunis. If I can have just 3 minutes more?
One.
No, three, sorry.
So don't ask me. Let's go ahead and do it.
Now, just say that when I say something like, rural inequity, a geography of revolutions, I have other words in mind, and I think it's putting together all these words, it takes you, at least it takes me into something more conceptual. It's taking me into these mechanisms of dispossession and accumulation. And Sidi Bouzid is one of the best examples of dispossession and accumulation. All the country, we can see in all of the country, you have mines coming from Gafsa to the north, oil coming from the south to the north, water coming from the northwest to the northeast and to the east. And Sidi Bouzid is one of the examples of internal land grabbing. And this is land grabbing, I understand, as kind of dispossession. This is the first meaning for me of this. And land grabbing in Sidi Bouzid is this. 77, 78, no 1 hectare was irrigated. Now, in this time, I would say probably around 80% of plants are irrigated. In 77, it was a very poor area. It was actually very difficult to find a cafe to sit with friends, just to play some local things or to smoke, very, very poor place, Now it's a city, and around this kind of landscape you can see, they take water from 200 meters deep, and so who is doing it? The people, the capital comes from Sfax, Sousse, Tunis. They irrigate land, they buy land, they irrigate the land, they produce olives, and now if we go to Sidi Bouzid, you will not see even one, how do you say, olive factory? Mill. Except 1 or 2 traditional, very old. But the new things, it's very, very impossible to find. Why? Because the people, the investors from Sfax, they come with their money, they take the water in forms of olives, olives like this, and they take it to Sfax to produce oil. And the oil is exported to Europe and the Gulf states And when you buy a bottle of olive oil in France, or probably in London too, you'll find olive oil extra virgin, produced in Sfax. We could imagine something, and this is my last thing, we could imagine something that at least the local population profit of these jobs, the possibility of employing people. No, that when they come to the season of harvesting picking the olives, they come with the workers from Sfax. And nobody from Sidi Bouzid can work on this area because they don't know how to work. They don't know how to work with this thing to be exported, so they come with their own people, So nobody, this is the new landscape you can see, and if you go to small village around Sidi Bouzid, you will get this kind of photos, this kind of pictures. Local population even don't have water at home, and still a lot of people go to get some water from public places. And this is, we arrived to the end of my presentation, and to end of the, not to end of the process, to end of the first moment of the process started in 2008, and it ended in 2011, January 14th, in the Avenue Bourguiba in Tunis, with this big demonstration. And I think this man, he has in his hand one of the most massive destruction weapon that we could find. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.